Mic check, 1, 2. Mic check, 1, 2. Okay, so we good. All right. Hey, shalom, shalom, family. It's your Aki from YAH'S Assembly. I'm Dolo today, but we're gonna press forward in this. Take heed to yourselves, part 3, Project MK Ultra. We're going over part 2, hypnosis, and it's high time that we decide to awake or wake up, right? So first, let's go. Well, let's start off with prayer. So, Father, we just want to ask for forgiveness of our sins and the sins of our ancestors, Father. We just want to just thank you for waking us up this morning. Thank you for the clothes on our backs, the shoes on our feet. Thank you for our families and our loved ones, Father. Thank you for our homes and the food that we have to eat, Father. Thank you for blessing us financially, spiritually, and mentally, Father. We ask for you to create in us clean and contrite hearts, minds, and spirits, Father. And we want to pray for our loved ones, those that are sickly, Father. We just ask for you to send your Rapha, your healing to them, Father. We just ask for you to give us and cover us with your mercy, which endures forever, Father. We are just so thankful, Father, to be able to be in your presence today, Father. And we don't take our lives or these days or even these times for granted, Father, or the people in our lives, Father. All these things we do ask and pray in Yahushua's name. Amen. So, let's go to the recap. Let's go back to the beginning. Okay. So part 1, of course, was about drugs. Just briefly, just remember it because Luke 21:26, men's heart failing them for fear and looking after those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken. All this stuff is coming, but it's coming in waves and in types. So we got to be able to see the signs and understand the things that are coming. Now, in this day and age, we really got to take heed to ourselves. Verse 34, Luke 21:34. And take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness and cares of this life, and so that on that day come upon you unawares. For as a snare shall it come on all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth. Because this is not a time to really be in a drunken state all the time, in a high state all the time. We need to be sober minded. That way we can truly discern between right and wrong and for the things that are coming upon the earth, right? Again, this is just a rehash. 2 Corinthians 2, verse 11. Lest Satan, or Hasatan, should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. So, anytime you see any title, take heed, or, Stranger Things, like, I'm just trying to make y'all aware of any of the devices that you may not know about. Because they're out there, they're many, they're ever changing, so we gotta be on alert. We talked about the CIA, how we're going over MK Ultra, but the precursor to MK Ultra was MK Delta, and then after or along the same time period, MK Naomi was also made. That was for stockpiling agents that can incapacitate people and that were lethal. Also, MK Ultra was established in 1953, and it was created for mind control procedures specifically. Now, MK Ultra, even when it ended, there was stuff that happened afterward. There was MK Search, that was the successor to MK Ultra. It began in 1965. It was allegedly terminated. Its objective was to develop a capability to manipulate human behavior in a predictable manner through the use of drugs. That's what part 1 was all about, was drugs. Then we had also McChickwit, MK Chickwit. That was another part of MK Search, which was just MK Ultra renamed. Also MK Often, which also was a part of MK Search, which also was a part of MK Ultra. Okay. And then, they renamed it like we talked about the MK Search. And we talked about also Operation Paperclip. I'm not trying to go over this all, but this is Alan Welsh Dulles. He was the first director of the CIA, and he started MK Ultra. If you want to look at the devil in his eyes, there he is. Right? And you got all this documentation. We just got to remember the type of drugs that they were looking for were substances that will promote illogical and irrational uh, thinking and impulsive behavior, that would increase mentation, which mentation just means mental activity. Also, that would prevent alcohol or drunkenness, and then those that would enhance drunkenness, right? And also drugs that would give you symptoms of diseases that could try to control you through that fear mechanism, right? Um, we also learned what the TSS is, right? The TSS is a part of the CIA. It's called the Technical Services Staff, and it was responsible for the CIA's operations, gadgetry, disguises, forgeries, secret writings, and weapons. So basically, everything you see in all the secret agent movies is really what they're doing. They really out here doing that for real. They're about that life. Also, they look for materials that would render induction of hypnosis. Today, we're going over hypnosis. Pretty tough. Um, Substances that enhance the ability of individuals to withstand privation or torture. Um, Material and physical methods which produce amnesia, so they wanted you to be able to do things for them under hypnosis and then you forget about it. Physical methods of producing shock and confusion over extended periods of time, so you look like a nut, you look like you're crazy. Of course, substances that give paralysis and pure euphoria, you just stay high, you never come down. And then especially substances which alter personality structures in such a way that the tendency of the recipient or the person who's on the drugs, it means that they can't take care of themselves. They have to be dependent on someone else. Um, Again, they were promoting materials that gave confusion and things that lower the ambition or the testosterone in men, because men were targets, and they went for knockout pills that worked in drinks, food, and cigarettes that can be used covertly or surreptitiously. Um, yeah, we went over a lot last week in a short time period. So the main drug of their choice was LSD. LSD has no color, taste, or smell. It's capable of making large groups of people, military forces, indifferent to their situation. They just stop caring. Remember, they lose their ambition. Excuse me. Uncontrollable fear, confusion, things that the Most High is not a part of. Pupil dilation, nausea, and it creates schizophrenia. So they would give people drugs that would create this schizophrenia state. And you just think that they just went crazy. No, they went crazy because of the stuff that they were put on in the tests and experiments that they were put through. You have to be trained on the effects of LSD to even be able to, know it. And there's no antidote. And the worst part about LSD is the victim is completely unaware of what's going on. And they could die behind it. Some of them did die. And this was used for warfare. It was created in Switzerland by Dr. Hoffman. Psychiatrists were actually going to Europe to actually test on LSD for years. It was well known. It's also called ergo or ergot, and it was produced by the Sandoz organization. The Soviet Union may have used the drug for chemical, psychological warfare, or military purposes. So again, we're just doing a rehash. And there was a Soviet/German connection. Remember to check out the narcotic farm to learn more information about some of the experiments that they were doing, because they were also doing it on prisoners. Let's keep going. So Operation Paperclip is when the United States brought 1,600 of the German scientists from there and gave them jobs and places to live here. But those in the Soviet Union, they brought back 2,200 people in 1946 to do the same thing. So there was a big connection. All these major powers, superpowers, were trying to be the leader in mind control over their population. And we learned about different universities that were involved in this. Johns Hopkins, University of Maryland. A lot of them alleged that they had no, idea that they had nothing to do with the drug portion. The CIA still wouldn't disclose the official list. Only the universities know. Um, Harvard was a part of it, but they deny any drug use. Stanford was involved with up to 7 MK Ultra projects. MIT was definitely a part of it. Dr. Edgar Schein admitted to accepting money from the CIA to participate in brainwashing. Then it says, you know, they spent over $385,000 between 1953 and 1961 to faculty. So again, a lot of these schools and their faculty knew about it. Now, one creepy thing about this we went over last week, there was a practicing psychiatrist who served controversial CIA operative George H. White, who paid prostitutes to seduce victims in a safe house and administer LSD so they could continue the MK Ultra experiments to unwitting, which we remember, unwitting means people that are unaware, um, patients. Uh, they even went as far as to practice knockout drugs on cancer patients. I mean, it doesn't get too much lower than that. If you're willing to do that, you really don't have a soul. Of course, they preyed on drug addicts and alcoholics, and we already talked about that they use prisoners as well. So as we keep going, um, there was at least 9 people that ended up suing the United States government from Canada. If you ever have to go to a psych ward, do not go to the Allen Memorial Clinic. Just don't do it, because, yeah, it ain't going to end out well for you at all. It was radical brainwashing techniques. And the CIA and our government ended up stalling and stalling because they were just trying to wait until their lawyer ended up dying because he was older, even though they admitted to actually performing those experiments there. So it's crazy. The last things that we talked about was that the Army was a part of the MK Ultra experiment with at least 3 programs going back to 1950. Um, just remember the Edgewood Arsenal Research Laboratory and the Fort Detrick and the Dugway Proving Grounds. The Navy also was a part of it, but they were a part of up to, I believe it was 5 programs for 26 years from 1947 to 1973. And as of right now, there are no mind control operations or experiments between the CIA and any branch of the military. But now, if there are any mind control, because there are mind control experiments going on, they're now all controlled and they go through the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, the one that keeps passing all these jabs. So now that we got through the rehash, let's get to part 2. So I have a question I just wanted to ask. What is hypnosis? What is hypnosis? Okay. So, hypnosis is the induction of a state of consciousness in which a person apparently loses the power of voluntary action and is highly responsive to suggestion or direction. Uh, it's used in therapy typically to recover suppressed memories or to allow modification of behavior by suggestion. So, basically, you go into a state of consciousness to where someone else can tell you what to do, and they basically become your master in a sense. They can get you to they can pull memories that deeply suppressed. But we know that the government, they have more sinister plans behind that. They were really trying to control you. If you're not trying to attain and then keep your sound mind, then the government's trying to take it. The government wants it. They want your mind. They want your soul. That's what they crave. They want to be your God in all ways. Your Elohim, your all. Elohim. Okay. So in Subproject 49, it talks about the flicker light, but we won't even get to that until next time. On television and computer monitors, that'll be on next time. One of the most disturbing documents to come to light, and we're going to read about that later on. So I'm not going to spill those beans just yet. So, and if y'all do have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Put them in the chat. Okay. So you see all these documents. Now these are official memorandums or documents because there was a Freedom of Information request put in. But of course, the CIA, with all their wisdom, they decided to redact certain information, so you can't even get the full story behind things. You just kind of got to piece things together. So, details on the hypnosis trials, right? The trials were done under the Sub-Project 49, like we talked about. Trials were continued from 1 June 1955 to May the 31st of 1956. They had two payments, one of $81.50 and $10,440, and it was given a top secret clearance by the TSS, the good old CI to the A, right? So we're going to try to get through this and get out of here for today. Since its inception in 1952, there were various phases of hypnotic research that was completed. So again, they were even doing this before they gave things the moniker like MK Ultra, MK Search, all this. The newer research on the methods for measuring the genuineness of hypnosis. This project focused on inducing states of anxiety. So they wanted you to be in a state of anxiety and or stress as an emotional stimuli to formulate a more reliable criteria for hypnosis. So if you know anything about the body, you know that stress is not good. That's one of the worst things, the fight or flight, one of the worst stages that you can ever put your body through. Because it increases your adrenaline, but then you're on edge. You know, that's not a good state to be in continuously for the body. By this strategy, they will be able to test the victims on a biochemical and physiological level. They compared two different states. One was waking up, and then the other one was under hypnosis state. So some of the patients, they wouldn't necessarily be under hypnosis at the time. They would just be waking up, and then they would try to put them under a hypnosis state, and the other ones would already be under a hypnosis state, right? Just to make sure we're tracking. On a biochemical level, they tested the levels of hippuric acid, plasma, blood-reduced glutathione level, and blood eosinophil level. So we're going to talk about a couple of these. So the hippuric acid, it measures the tolerance of that the liver is detoxifying your body, because when you get in that fight or flight, you know, that's a lot of toxins that your body's end up going out. So they're trying to see if they can kind of see the measure at which you actually fall under hypnosis and your body is not really detoxifying like it should. These are things that you shouldn't really be trying to see what that level is at, because you can end up killing somebody if you give them too much stress and anxiety. Plasma or amino level. Now, this measures the change in amino acids, and it's the secondary index of an altered adrenal cortical function. So we're going to read about that here in a minute. And it says the blood eosinophil level, that's stress response index. So again, they're just trying to test how these patients unwittingly respond to stress. They have no idea. They're lambs to the slaughter. Lambs to the slaughter. Right? So now, if you know anything about amino acids, they are the building blocks to your body. Like, it's what amino acids do. That's what they are. And about this adrenal cortical, it says there are hormones produced by the adrenal cortex, the outer region of the adrenal gland. The polycyclic steroid hormones have a variety of roles that are crucial for the body's response to stress, for example. So they're messing with the mechanism that the Most High has created for you to be able to properly respond to stress. They're trying to max it out, wear it out, destroy it even. You just never know with these mad scientists. And they also regulate other functions in the body. They regulate the threats to homeostasis, such as an injury, chemical imbalances, infection, or psychological stress can initiate a response. These are all of the things, because they would even be putting them under hypnosis, making them think that they have an injury, that they have paralysis, or giving them drugs that give them that, give them this chemical imbalance that could lead to an infection. And we know that all of these things will give you psychological stress. So why would a quote unquote government that loves you, that's willing to give you free jabs uh, at any time, why would they be wanting to know anything about mind control? I mean, if they truly have your best interest in heart, right? Why? 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 So let's keep going. Let's find out some more of the details on the hypnosis. They also wanted to test, of course, on a physiological level. They had auditory techniques like nonverbal or visual. Now, their techniques included sleep talk, so they would talk to you while you're in your sleep, or nonsense syllables or words, because they were trying to use other ways to manipulate you, or double talk, which is lying, and they would change things like in the cadence and the tone, or they'd use the stand metrics in or method in a foreign language. But with the nonverbal and visual, um, they would use monotonous audio stimulation like soft music, subliminal voice combination, uh, or both. If you ever watch certain movies and TV shows, like of course they overly dramatize things, but you'll end up seeing like, okay, putting this guy under hypnosis and this and that, and it's always the same tone. Now we're going to talk about some movies and TV shows here in a little bit, because they're literally putting all this information in our faces and giving us the idea that it's a myth or a fairy tale, that it's not real, when this is literally what they've been doing since before we even thought. Because uh, this stuff started coming to light in the 70s, but the stuff can go back 40, 50 years prior to that. So our enemy is well versed in how to manipulate and how to control the mind. If you don't cultivate your mind and actively work on keeping a sound mind, you're going to lose it. You are going to lose it. Um, it says visual stimulation, the flicker light, colored lights in varying patterns, combination, or both. They devised a technique to bypass a person's resistance to hypnosis. So they were even devising ways to even get around people that are averse to even being under hypnosis. So they want complete control. They don't want a little bit of control. They want it all. They want to control your money, like with this global reset. The powers that be, when in their meetings, they literally said that you will own nothing and you will like it. They want to be your God. They want to be your Elohim. Um, they put all these images, all these lights, all these colors in our faces for a reason. It's not just for advertising. No. We'll get into that next time, but it's so much more. It's not just entertainment. We got to look at things outside the box and in a different lens. We have to. Yes, a mind is a terrible thing to rest. You're right. You are right. Then it says, now, there was a pilot mind control program, or there were pilot mind control programs, where patients were unwitting carriers of secret messages since at least 1952. So people had no idea, and like I remember, what was that TV show? I want to say it was an Alias, either Alias the TV show or even like The Blacklist. Uh, People end up agent under Blacklist, Agent Wrestler ended up getting put under mind control. Didn't know it, and then they had reprogrammed his memories and switched it to where he was about to kill like a prominent politician. And at that time, this politician, this woman, she was actually blackmailing him, and she was talking crazy to him. So they redid it, and luckily they got there in time to stop him. But he was literally about to kill her because they made him believe that she had killed somebody else. But they have been doing this for so long; they are masters at mind manipulation. Experiments were conducted using multi-channel recordings of psychogalvanic skin responses, heart and lung action brainwaves. That's just a whole lot. They were checking your brainwaves in your lungs and your heart, just to make it easy. To prove that hypnosis worked, they used nonsense words or syllables, but they would keep it at the same tone. So in this world, in this realm that we live in, it's about cadence, it's about frequencies. So as they're experimenting on people, they're understanding these different frequencies, and so they know to put you under a hypnotic state or to put you under a state of suggestion, they have to keep the same frequency, keep the same pattern, make sure it's soothing, make sure it it puts you to sleep, basically. Furthermore, they would use the same cadence and tone in a language that the patient had not any knowledge of. So they were actually putting people under hypnosis that couldn't even understand the language because your subconscious mind is so much smarter than you know. So you got to be careful. You got to be mindful of these things. You can't just take things for granted anymore. Like, you have to actively work on your mind. You have to actively pay attention to what you're visually, mentally, and even through your ears, what you're consuming. Everything. You're always consuming something, whether it's music, television, whatever the case, whatever it is, you're always consuming something. It's not just what eating. You got to be careful what you allow to rest in your spirit, in your ruach, because again, they want to control it all. That's the whole plan. And they have so many things planned for us. Like it's almost impossible to pinpoint, the way they're going to attack next. So, with all that being said, me and my wife, we had tried to watch this movie. Well, I've already seen it, but I saw it a long time ago. She tried to watch it, but she started getting too spooked out because she couldn't believe that a government or even just any person would think or try to do these things. So, like, if you don't know this movie, this is a Denzel Washington movie, came out probably 20 years ago, called The Manchurian Candidate. And in case you didn't know, The Manchurian Candidate was based off of the MK Ultra experiments. Look it up. I'm not making that up. It was based off of the MK Ultra, MK Search, CIA, TSS, FDA experiments. Literally. And basically, Denzel, he's going by and doing his work. He's a hardworking man. He's military, and he was actually in war with this guy, the other guy. I forget his name. And the other guy gets out, and he becomes this big politician or congressman, whatever, and then he's basically running and becoming the president. So anytime that Denzel runs into any of the other people that was a part of the group that got deployed, and anytime they would talk about this other guy, they would say the exact same thing about him verbatim. Like, he saved all of our lives this and all of our lives that, but then Denzel and them, they started noticing that the other members started getting killed one by one. And what ended up happening is, as he was talking to his fellow comrades, they would tell him, do you remember the experiments that's going on? And then they all started having more memories in their sleep and more memories. And then they started realizing that they were put under hypnosis to believe that this guy saved them and killed all these people, when really they were a part of an experiment where their teammates or their comrades were literally getting killed in front of them. And they just forgot about it. There's a lot of theories going around that, some of the presidents today have been MK Ultra from birth. Literally. MK Ultra from birth. So if you haven't seen The Manchurian Candidate, I know it's kind of older, but it's a good watch. And again, it's based off of The Manchurian Candidate. Let's keep going. Now, it says long periods of monotonous audio or visual stimulation. This combined with restful music with a voice recording at a subliminal level was effective in previous experiments. So now they know, as long as you keep, something, the same thing in front of somebody's face, same colors, same patterns, and then you have restful, peaceful music. Like, even in video games, if you pay attention, they even try to put that same type of music in video games. And it's all kinds of colors always coming at you. It's for a reason. It's for a purpose. Like I said, it was effective in previous experiments. They also tested whether certain personality patterns are more vulnerable to the opposite sex. So they had male doctor, female doctor. And then so they were trying to see if, okay, well, is her tone and her cadence, does this make, you know, type A people more susceptible or vice versa? Like they were trying to get it down to the exact science. But these are the devices of our enemy, so we gotta be prepared for it. It says one of the doctors was a female graduating, like I said, with her PhD. Now this is how crazy it is, because the students, they were unwitting. They knew there was experiments going on, but they weren't told the truth. They were being paid a whopping $1 to be a part of the experiment. Some of them died. Some of them are still being tormented and tortured to this day. For $1, I think it was like a hour, something like that. It was something ridiculously low, really low. Definitely not worth the heartache. And so this is more memorandums that came from the Freedom of Information Act request right here. All these are official documents, and as you can see, the CIA started what redacting information. So the doctors' names and the facilities and even like military personnel, all these people's names were in there, and you just start seeing everywhere where everything's marked out. Even the locations were even in here. And then as you read it, you'll see, oh, they locked it, they blocked it out, so you can't read it. You don't know what it is. You have no idea what it is. Um, Now, so they had 6 different experiments. They hypnotically, which is N18 to induce anxiety. We talked about that. Hypnotically increased learning capability. So they definitely wanted to see if they can make you smarter or more efficient. They wanted polygraph responses under hypnosis because they wanted to see if you would end up having amnesia and not be able to tell them exactly what you actually just got done doing or were told. Um, Hypnotically increase observing complex physical arrangements. So they just want to make sure, see if your memory increased to where you could just, like stuff that you would normally see, like after some of the tests, they were able to actually describe things that they might have just had a glance. Like their memory just, it was ridiculous how good their memory ended up being. It was kind of scary. Um, in 100, relationship of personality, susceptibility, we talked about that. And with the people with lower IQ, Morse code, trying to see if they could like pick up on Morse code and things like that, right? So when you talk about mind control techniques, so if you notice the background, I chose this background because we don't understand the how far they will go. Because again, like they put this in our movies. So now the first part says they use a constant speed of black on white spiral color wheel. Y'all see the black and white spiral color wheel going down? Um, Used for visual fixation along with verbal suggestions. So then they would have a voice giving suggestions like in in a nice smoothing manner in the background or in the back playing. The subjects exhibited susceptibility and suggestions and were given to the patients that in the future hypnosis will be accomplished on verbal command to sleep. So when they got these patients looking at this black and white spiral, listening to the suggestions going on, they were given commands that in the future the command would be for them to go to sleep, and then they would further give them even more commands. So it says patients induced under hypnosis began to demonstrate pain in some cases. They would tell them, "Oh, your arm is hurting, your leg is hurting, it doesn't work. Your leg is broken," as a form of physical and psychological control, because they had to test the depths of it. Because your mind can tell your body things that actually aren't going on. So you gotta pay attention to your subconscious mind. Um, your subconscious mind is one of the most powerful tools that you have in your world. Uh, it's actually written all in the Bible. We just don't understand necessarily the lingo. That's why David focuses on like having a sound heart or a sound mind, and Paul also they also talk about having like a sound mind and sound heart because as my mama said in the chat, it's your mind is a terrible thing to waste, and if you waste it, somebody else will take it. If you waste it, somebody else will take it. It says this experiment also included testing on the induction of motivation in individuals by means of specific interpersonal relationships. So, but back to the background. I chose this background because we don't understand the type of mental warfare that we've been under. So this background is actually the background for some parts in the movie, the Disney movie, Alice in Wonderland. When Alice goes down that rabbit hole, if you actually remember, I know it's been a long time since I've seen it or anyone's seen it, but you'll just see all these lines go on this and that and this and that. You don't know, but Alice was actually getting put under mind control when all that stuff was happening. And guess what? So we're all of us. We were all being put under mind control, but we had no idea. So they don't always. This is way back then. They don't always just use black and white. They also use a whole myriad, a bigger array of colors as well. Um, but yeah, like this is in a kids television movie, TV movie, right? Alice in Wonderland. We all know that. I grew up on it. I grew up on it, and uh, when you just start reading and then understanding, like, man, you think that this stuff is good for children, and then you start seeing all this or hearing all the sexual innuendos, and you start seeing 666 like hidden in some of the paintings, and or like a woman, like just the way that they do things, you start understanding that, like, man, like they want your kids too. So you can't just have your kids watching anything either. You got to start watching stuff before you allow them to watch stuff because they're slick, man. They are really, really slick. See, look, this almost half of this page is redacted. It don't make any sense. A freedom of information request, and you can't even get the full truth. But let's keep going. It says on July the 2nd, 1951, the hypnotist took a lie detector test and disclosed information about his sexual experiences. So this is one of the ones that's actually experimenting on other people, right? So he took a lie detector test and then he started to disclose his sexual experiences. He stated that he had constantly used hypnotism as a means of inducing young girls to engage in sexual intercourse with him. So one of the people in charge of giving these experiments is quoted to say that he induced young girls to engage in sexual intercourse with him. Now, do you see how dangerous this technology is? You got to be careful, especially if you have girls, a wife, whatever, because you don't know what people are into and you don't know how deep that they're into stuff. Now, it says he also stated that he first put her into a hypnotic trance and then suggested to her that he was her husband and that she desired to have intercourse with him. And he would spend 5 nights a week at unwitting victims' houses. So this guy is literally tricking women into thinking that they want to have sex with him and that he's their cousin. Or excuse me, husband, not cousin. Through MK Ultra. Now, does anybody know who who this particular guy is here? No, it doesn't look like anybody knows in the chat. So, I mean, this is Charles Manson. So, Charles Manson is or was one of the biggest, quote unquote serial killers. He had a cult of love to where the women would just do whatever. Turns out there's actually some evidence that he may have been one of the people under MK Ultra. He was using MK Ultra techniques actually on the women. He had a devout cult that followed him, that worshipped him, that loved him, that would basically do whatever he said. So you got to be careful because you start thinking about all these quote unquote serial killers that they say are roaming around America at any point in time, thousands that have never been caught. It kind of makes you wonder if they were either agents that were given that and they have no idea. I'm telling you, there's actually some evidence showing that because he was like, he kept getting on parole and he kept like getting away with stuff. And it's almost like he had to have insider information. So if you never looked into Charles Manson, definitely take a look at it, because I'm telling you. Because matter of fact, there's been authors that wrote books about it. Authors that wrote books about it. So again, look into Charles Manson, because I'm telling you, he was MK Ultra, and he was a sleeper agent, more than likely, for the CIA. Okay, so look, more redacted information. So we're gonna keep going. So now we know that they preyed on addicts, drug addicts, alcoholics, and they preyed on men. With the drugs that they would use predominantly. We were the victims. But let's see if it stopped there. That's what I'm saying. Like, we gotta take care of our families. Men, you gotta be men. You gotta take care of your wives, your children, especially if you have girls. You gotta be there. You gotta be involved. It says two young girls are placed in a trance-like state and given different instructions on what to do. Now, I'm just summarizing all that information, right? What to do with an incendiary bomb. So they were actually, once they were put under hypnosis, one of them was taught how to put the bomb together and how to use it, and then the other one was told to go to a specific place to meet this person, this woman. Once she said the code word, once she heard the code word, then she was told how to use the incendiary bomb and where to place it and how to place it. And then they pulled off literally a covert mission in under 30 minutes. Now they even had to restart the mission because there were people that came in there and they kind of messed everything up. So they had to switch the room where the girls were going to be putting this incendiary bomb at. So they got the girls, put them back under hypnosis. Now this is girls. This is not adults. This is not college, anything. These are little young girls. I don't know how they got them, but these were young girls. And after being put under hypnosis, they were able to do all this stuff. So even like when you're under hypnosis in your subconscious mind, because it's so much smarter than your conscious mind, like they were able to retain and do it to a T. Like they put this incendiary bomb together, pass it on to each other, put it where it was supposed to go without any problems. Like it was, well, when I was reading that information, I'm like, it's scary how good they were at it. Like they had been trained professionals the whole time. Um, it says the second experiment, two girls were given an operation to steal a wallet from a man that was either passed out drunk or on drugs. Passed out. Either way, he was passed out. They were to do this secretly after receiving a code word, another code word, and a phone call. They would go back into a deep sleep, and guess what? This was another successful experiment. So they can turn you into terrorists if you're not controlling your conscious and subconscious mind. Or if you're not taking care of your kids, they could turn your kids into it. And then they could turn you into thieves if you're not working on controlling your subconscious and conscious minds. This is a war for, it's a war for more than just your skin, your meat flesh. Because with the plans they have, they want to control your mind. Like they just want you to just be like on the show Altered Carbon. They just want you to be a sleeve, a suit that they wear. But they control the mind because your mind is off. So they're controlling your subconscious mind. You got to work on it. You got to be careful. We got to be aware of Satan's devices. So now we're going to a small portion of the sixth sense. So this one's about extrasensory perception. So does anybody know what ESP is? Has anybody heard of ESP? Does it sound familiar? Um, Yeah, no, it's not the sports channel. It's not ESPN, which I don't understand why they would make it so close. That's kind of leery to me. But we're gonna read the definition of ESP. Just give me a moment. Okay, so extrasensory perception, or ESP. Perception, yeah, as in telepathy, clairvoyance, and precognition, that involves awareness of information about events external to the self, not gained through the senses and not deducible from previous experience, called ESP. So it says Duke University had already been experimenting and researching for subjects that may have ESP. These studies showed that interpersonal, and that's what we were just reading about, interpersonal relationships, emotional likes and dislikes to the individual played a pivotal role in ESP. Uh, so basically, they like to call them clairvoyants, or back in the day we would call them prophets or seers, when they can just tell you, what's happening. There's people today that are that have ESP, that are just in tune or connected to the spirit world, to where they just know what's about to happen. Sometimes when you speak in something into existence, it comes to you right then and there, and then it ends up manifesting. Well, these people have that power of manifestation, right? So, but before we get more into ESP, does anybody know what's important to know about the name Duke? About the name Duke. No? Yeah, it's a university, right? So, wait a minute. Did I mess that up? Yeah, okay. So, about the name Duke. So, the name Duke is actually in the Bible. A lot of people may not be aware of that. So, we're going to go to Genesis 36, and we're going to read from verses 8 through verses 19. And it reads, "Thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir." Esau's Edom. "And these are the generations of Esau, the father of the Edomites in Mount Seir. These are the names of Esau's sons: Eliphaz, the son of Ada, the wife of Esau; Ruel, the son of Bashemath, the wife of Esau. And the sons of Eliphaz were Teman, Omar, Zepho, and Gatam, and Kenaz. And Timnah was concubine to Eliphaz, Esau's son, and she bare to Eliphaz Amalek, one of our arch enemies. These were the sons of Ada, Esau's wife." Let's keep going. Well, I don't see anything about Duke. Well, let's just see. And if you look in the background, this is Duke University in the background. "And these are the sons of Ruel: Nahath, Zerah, Shammah, and Mizah. These were the sons of Bashemath, Esau's wife. And these were the sons of Aholibamah, the daughter of Anah, the daughter of Zibeon, Esau's wife. And she bare to Esau Jeush, and Jalam, and Korah. These were the dukes of the sons of Esau." I'm gonna say this again. These were dukes of the sons of Esau. The sons of Eliphaz, the firstborn son of Esau: Duke Teman, Duke Omar, Duke Zepho, Duke Kenaz, Duke Korah, Duke Gatam, and Duke Amalek. These are the dukes that came of Eliphaz in the land of Edom. And these are the sons of Ruel: Duke Nahath, Duke Zerah, Duke Shammah, Duke Mizah. These are the dukes that came of Ruel in the land of Edom. These are the sons of Bashemath, Esau's wife. And these are the sons of Aholibamah, Esau's wife: Duke Jeush, Duke Jalam, Duke Jorah. These were the dukes that came of Aholibamah, the daughter of Anah, Esau's wife. These are the sons of Esau, who is Edom, and these are their dukes." So, now, I don't subscribe to that Edom or Esau is all white people, because Edom or Esau mixed with the Horites, and then they mixed with Europeans, right? Some of the sons, not everybody. You can't say that. So it's a mixture. He's mixing with everybody. But let's read a little bit about the history of Duke. Duke University was created in 1924 by James Buchanan Duke as a memorial to his father, Washington Duke. The Dukes, a Durham family that built a worldwide financial empire in the manufacture of tobacco products and developed electricity production in the Carolinas, long have been interested in Trinity College. So, the one place where they had already been practicing or working on experimenting on ESP, because they wanted to be able to control your mind or to understand how to do it more effectively. Was Duke University? Esau. Again, this is a war for the mind. Now, according to the Bible, Esau will always be the arch enemy, not just of the Israelites, but of the world, especially in the end times. Esau and the Edomites, right? So that was one of the main colleges or universities, and that was one of the main things that they were pushing. So that's why, like, you got to wonder, because we know that Esau, like, a lot of them, not all, but a lot of them have been devils to us, have been deceivers, have been, adversaries, Satan's to us, right? And now again, they want to be able to control the mind, because in the times that coming, in the times that are coming, with us being elevated, with us being awakened, they know that uh, if Obadiah is a prophet, that they will never fill the earth with cities again to rule anymore. Now, they're not all going to be destroyed. That's another lie too, because there's no way they can all be destroyed, and then we have servants and handmaids. And then if any of them are righteous, then the Most High, he's going to love them too, because if you not do good, will you not be accepted? Because he's no respecter of persons. We got to keep these things in context and in mind when we're talking about the Most High, because he sees everything. He's not just going to base it on Esau. Oh, Jacob have I loved and Esau have I hated. He hated what Esau did. True. But he's not going to hate every Edomite if they actually come to him, right? With their whole heart. Because there were times when even Zepho, Esau's son, called out to the Most High to save him against the Africans. You got to read the book of Joshua to understand that. And of course, they ended up turning their heart from him, but you cannot say that every person from every line is going to be wicked. That's like saying that every person from the line of Israel is going to be righteous. Well, what about Judas or Yehuda? You can't say that. So, but anyway, so Duke with a name, right? Duke Blue Devils. Why would you name your mascot a Blue Devil? Well, more than likely because they were going under the moniker of Blue Bloods, but that's what they are. They're deceivers. That's what devil means, deceiver, adversary, Satan. So, yeah, Duke Blue Devils. I read that, my mind was kind of blown. Well, I knew about Duke before, but I didn't realize that it was literally started by a family that was called Duke. And then you just go to Genesis 36 and you just read about Dukes. Like, oh, okay. So, and that was another thing. So, the Dukes of Esau, they ended up going into Europe, intermarrying with them, and that's why you see like people in France and all these places, they have Dukes. Like, they put this out there, like, you got to just know what to look for. So, I mean, they have markers everywhere, so they know where they're ruling from. So we just got to be mindful, and we got to pay attention, to these things. So we read that about Duke. So, again, ESP, right? The phenomena of ESP was tested, and the patients were made aware if they were right or wrong. So if they were right, they would get positive reinforcement and affirmations, right? But if they were wrong, they found out they were wrong by electric shock. The electric shock. Now, this really sounds like a government that really loves you, really wants to take care of you. Yeah, well, if you get right, we'll give you that proper motivation that you need. But if you're wrong, you're gonna get this shock. This is the type of blue devil that we're dealing with. This is the type of blue devil that we are dealing with. These tests were performed in groups. And look at the groups. They were checking out those that were psychotics, those that were children, and those that had mediums already. Now, I know what you're thinking, like, well, we already talked about children. We did. And again, this is just reaffirming what we said before. They were going after children, too. Even though it was at universities and prisons and all this, they were still going after children. And what is a medium? Well, a medium is like a conduit. So it says using hypnosis and drugs, certain states like multiple personalities or mediums, they would try to achieve these things. And they did. Because remember, through the drugs and through these other practices, they were able to create schizophrenia. And then when people have mediums or they become a medium, that means that, like, for instance, if you get put under hypnosis, you can actually be controlled. You actually become a medium for good or for bad, for righteous or for evil. So they were trying to manipulate these things and to control these things because they want the rulers from other dimensions to come in and give them their marching orders and to do things through whatever unwitting victim it is. These are the things that they want. So you got to be careful. Don't just take things for face value. Do research. In this day and age, we got to do research because we don't have any excuses. We have no excuse not to do research because it's literally at the tip of. It's on your phone. It's on your computer. You know, because we're not supposed to be ignorant of the Most High's devices, and it's high time that we stop being destroyed for a lack of knowledge. That's why we're going over this stuff right now because we need to know these things. So a lot of people don't get it though. It's all good. And then it says the best results were found in the book Modern Experiments in Telepathy. So I didn't get a chance to read the book or anything, but I do want to read a part of the extract. Now, this book came out from Yale University Press in 1954. It says the book presents a comprehensive review of experiments in extrasensory perception carried out during the last 35 years. Now, if it came out in 1954, 35 years from that is like 1919. The first chapter summarized quantitative experiments of investigators in England and in America. So they weren't just doing it here. Like, this is a global project. They want to control everybody. It's not just Americans. Now, we are one of the last bastions of hope because right now we still have ways to defend ourselves. Whereas a lot of countries gave up their arms, But still, you're talking early 1900s, early 20th century. And we have no idea, but we still think that this stuff is fairy tale. This is La La Land. No, there was a committee in the 1970s that came out. I believe it was 1977, when they were forced to tell the truth. Okay, now universities working on ESP. We already know Duke was, right? Duke was one of the first ones, but also so was Cambridge. So was the City of New York College. So was Harvard. So was Stanford. So was University of Chicago. The University of Utrecht, London University, Pittsburgh University. Now, one of the main people behind this was a guy named, I believe his name was Joseph Rhine. And he wrote exhaustively about his research. And this says in 1940. So you see how the timeline keeps going further back and further back and further back. This battle for the mind, I mean, it really should go back to Adam and Eve. Truthfully. That's why the serpent seed source or whatever the serpent went after the woman to try to get her mind first. Once he got her mind, then he was able to get Adam, or the man, right? But let's keep going. So this is a picture of, I believe his name is Joseph Rhine. And Joseph Rhine, he was most famous series of experiments from Rhine's laboratories, arguably the ESP test involving Hubert Peirce and Joseph Gaither Pratt. Those are the two guys before, if we look at this. Rhine and Pratt 14, an exhaustive analysis of research, right? Peirce was tested using Zener cards by Pratt, who shuffled and recorded the order of the cards in a parapsychological lab 100 yards from where Peirce was sitting in a campus library cubicle. So he was 100 yards from him. The series comprised of 25 trial runs conducted between 1933 and 1994. From run to run, the number of matches between Pratt's cards and Peirce's guesses was highly variable, generally deviating significantly above chance, but also falling dramatically below chance. These scores were obtained irrespective of the distance between Pratt and Peirce, which was arranged either as 100 or 250 yards. But to put a long story short, they've been doing this for a long time. And there were two people that really did really good on that, to where they had it down to a basic science. Like, it's crazy. Like, when you're reading all this information, you're like, man, y'all really have nothing better to do than find out how you can control everybody. I guess when you have all the money in the world, that's the only thing that you have left, just to try to control everybody. That stuff is crazy. There was actually a book, again, Joseph Rhine. He wrote the book Extrasensory Perception, a 1934 book. Again, his research was done at where? Duke University. At Duke University. Esau University. This is the guy that Helms, I think it's Richard Helms, the director of the CIA, that actually got or made them actually destroy all the documents. So you can't really get the unredacted documents because he ordered them to destroy everything. So does anybody know what the clandestine service is? Does anybody know what the clandestine service is? So, like the screen says, it says CIA clandestine service. So I didn't know that was a part of the CIA. So I typed in. I just went to Google and typed in clandestine service, and this screen popped up. Now, do you see? It says all of these different universities. Why would it do that? Now look at what the bottom of the screen says. The National Clandestine Service is the undercover arm of the Central Intelligence Agency and the authority on all clandestine operations throughout the world that concerns the nation's intelligence community. How the CIA, which is supposed to be, covert anyway, got a covert branch, an undercover branch. I'd never even heard of that. I had no idea. The NCS. But if you go to this, if you type in clandestine services, and I literally clicked on the first thing that popped up on Google, it's going to take you to all these potential colleges that you can click on. You know why? Because they're all in bed with the CIA. Strayer University. That's one of the main ones that people are going to now, because I believe you can do a lot of that online. So again, there's nothing new under the sun. What they were doing before, they're definitely doing now. They're still in bed with all these colleges and universities, so be careful where you go. It says that clandestine services arm of the CIA communicated and was working in tandem with local law enforcement to keep the experiments a secret. So they were using the NCS to talk to the local law enforcement wherever they were going, wherever college or campus they were going to keep things under wraps so they can keep, pursuing these experiments. And this is a war of the mind. Like, we don't even know that we're prisoners of war here in America. And then everyone in the world right now is basically, if you're not in the top 1%, there's a war for your mind going on. And the crazy thing about it is they're trying to tell us through the Matrix movies, through Terminator movies. Like they're even through the X-Men movies, they are really trying to wake us up to let us know, hey, y'all know y'all in the war and y'all losing bad. That's how bold they are. It says, talking about the NCS, or the National Clandestine Services, worked with the Justice Departments as well to keep their experiments on unwitting prisoners a secret. And they were trying to conduct their experiments on the indigenous peoples, but they had no success because some of the indigenous peoples had some sense. And a lot of these indigenous peoples would be the ones that aren't quote unquote civilized, So quote unquote, according to their definition, artificial telepathy. Does anybody know what telepathy is? Does anybody know what telepathy is? Okay. So, if you know anything about X-Men, y'all know this is Professor X, right? Professor X. So let's look into telepathy now. Telepathy is the direct transference of thought from one person, sender or agent, to another, receiver or percipient, without using the usual sensory channels of communication, hence a form of extrasensory perception, ESP. This is what Duke and all them were working on. So, again, we have prophets, we have seers, even apostles, people filled with the Ruach, or the Holy Spirit of the Most High. And a lot of times they speak things that are not as though they were, because they know it's like a knowing or a seeing, right? It's like in the Sixth Sense, the kid, he could see what dead people, and then they would tell him how they died or whatever the case may be, right? So, was there ever any incidents where somebody in the Bible had that? Because the prophets would do it all the time, in case you say no. The prophets and their prophecies would happen all the time. But 1 Samuel 9, verses 6 through 9 and 17 through 19. And he said unto him, Behold now, there is in this city a man of Elohim, and he is an honorable man. All that he saith cometh surely to pass. Now let us go thither. Peradventure he can show us our way that we should go. Because they know that he would speak things that are not as though they were, and then they would come to pass. That's ESP. Prophets. Seers are ESP. Then said Saul to his servant, But behold, if we go, what shall we bring the man? For the bread is spent in our vessels, and there is not a present to bring to the man of Elohim. What have we? Because even then they understood you don't just come empty-handed. Like, you're not supposed to come to the house of the Most High empty-handed. And the servant answered Saul again, and said, Behold, I have here at hand the fourth part of a shekel of silver. That will I give to the man of Elohim to tell us our way. Before time in Israel, when a man went to inquire of Elohim, thus he spake, Come, and let us go to the seer. For he that is now called a prophet was before time called a seer. So just so y'all know that. And when Samuel saw Saul, Yahuwah said unto him, because we jump down to verse 17, Behold, the man whom I spake to thee of, this same shall reign over my people. Then Saul drew near to Samuel in the gate and said, Tell me, I pray thee, where the seer's house is. And Samuel answered Saul and said, I am the seer. Go up before me unto the high place, for you shall eat with me today, and tomorrow I will let thee go, and will tell thee all that is in thine heart. ESP. That is extrasensory perception. Our prophets had it, or have it. Our seers have it. So the devices that Esau or Satan are trying to use right now is something that the Most High gives freely. But you still have to ask so you can receive it. The problem is, in this day and age, you just want stuff right here, right now. You want fast food. You want the fast food version instead of the correct version. You want to have mediums instead of going through your mediator, because that is the environment that they have molded us in their image. That is the environment that they have molded us in their image. See, that's the thing. When you mold something into your own image, the problem is they're trying to create us in their likeness. That's why they're trying to take our minds. So a lot of our wants and desires is molded after what they tell us we should be wanting and desiring. But if you allow them to take to make you in their likeness, it's over with. Because like even like those of us that are molded after the Most High's image, that's still just one of the steps. We still have to be transformed into after His likeness. So you can't just be after His image. You have to go. You have to grow or evolve or mature from being in His image to into His likeness. That's what Hasatan is trying to do now. Like all these people that's taking all these extra shots and jolts and this and that, you were already after their image. Now you're about to be after their likeness. Pay attention to the movies like The Matrix, like how all of a sudden anybody, anywhere, if they see Neo or those on the Ark or the Nebuchadnezzar or whatever going anywhere, they would just turn into those agents. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be a literal you turn into them, but you will turn into an agent because you will snitch them out, call the authorities, this, and that. That was telling you literally what's going to end up happening. Or heck, you may end up turning into an agent that you may try to kill these people that are trying to be righteous before the Most High. It's time to grow from the image to the likeness of the Most High, put on the full armor of Yah, and forsake Esau, forsake the Blue Devils or Hasatan, and don't put on that full armor of Baal, because that's what it is. It's a counterfeit. It's a counterfeit, just like we was learning from the Lost Book of King Og. There's a full armor of the Most High, and there's a full armor of Baal, or the quote-unquote Lord. But so I'm just going to show y'all some of these pictures. So these are just listening devices, hearing devices, right? That help deaf people to be able to hear. But as I was looking at how these things were configured, let's see if I wrote it on here. It says these devices were created under the guise of helping deaf people, but it's something a little bit more sinister going on. These devices actually can be used to transmit or send messages to the brain. They have RF or radio frequencies or microwave technology, and there is literal radiation that comes from these things. So if you know anything about radiation, you can't be around too much radiation for too long. So if you're putting that in your ear, you're actually poisoning your brain, because wherever you're putting it, you're actually starting to poison your body, which can actually lead to schizophrenia or all these other potential mental disorders. So all of these were created under the guise of helping deaf people, right? But actually, they were actually being created under MK Ultra experiments. So in order for them to try to create mechanisms or devices to be able to control the mind, they ended up allegedly curing deaf people. So how do you go from that to that? Y'all got to see the whole game that's going on. Y'all have got to see the whole game that's going on. So they give it to you, oh yeah, they can hear now, and this and that. Not telling you that you're literally killing yourself, you're poisoning yourself, you're turning yourself crazy, and that it can end up being a two-way radio to where they can send messages to you. And then all of a sudden your personality starts changing. And when you fall asleep during your subconscious mind, they start putting secret messages or secret things to do. Because like a little bit before this part came up, like the CIA was writing the clandestine services, the secret branch of the CIA. They were writing, and they were talking about how they have been trying to be able to secretly, covertly, surreptitiously control somebody and turn them into an assassin, to go and assassinate somebody, and then the police would hurry up and take them and kill them. So like basically there would be no proof. So they were doing experiments to get to that end, and then these things ended up being made. Like they engineer perfect assassins. So if you see a lot of these school shootings, they end up being false flags. So maybe people do end up dying. A lot of these people end up being MK Ultra. Like again, last week we were talking about Kanye West, the way he has mental breakdowns. Britney Spears and all these celebrities. Shia LaBeouf, I think his name LaBeouf or whatever his name, Shia LaBeouf or whatever his name was. And they just end up having all these freakouts. What was it? Wesley Snipes, I think it was, ended up like walking naked down in New York or LA or something like that years ago. And we wonder why all this stuff ends up happening. And we just think, oh, it's just your drugs. It may be part of the drugs, but remember, with LSD, there's no color, there's no taste, there's no smell. So they could be slipping this stuff in your food, in your drink, in your cigarettes if you're smoking. And then they to kill your credibility, and then they'll start calling you a conspiracy theorist. When Cat Williams was talking about like they crazy, when Dave Chappelle left, because you can tell when people are trying to kill you. Come on, man. You think that all these people are just going crazy? Really? Really? You better know who your enemy is. You better stop trusting in the Blue Devil, because they're the ones that are behind a lot of the things that we're going through. But yeah, that's really all I got today. And tomorrow, next time will be the end of this, and we'll go on to bigger and better things. But there's a lot of movies and TV shows and films that were based off of this. I told you guys about the Manchurian Candidate. I didn't also tell you that Stranger Things was actually based off of MK Ultra. The TV show, the Netflix TV show, they hit Stranger Things is based off of MK Ultra and those experiments. Now I know they're bringing all these other beings and all this other stuff into it, but if you actually do your research, you'll end up finding out that Stranger Things is also based off of MK Ultra. Like you can't make this up. You start researching like the people that made this stuff, and it's like, oh man, y'all going back. Oh man, so this is going back to MK Ultra, MK Search, and then you even end up going back further to like the early 1920s, 1919. Like these people know where to research, and again, they give you that false sense of, oh, it's just a movie, it's just television. Like no, this is real. This is real rap. What they're doing out here. So it's high time for us to awake, for that light has come. So that's really all I got today. I'm going to go ahead and pray us out. Father, I'm just grateful for each and every day that I get to spend above ground. I just want to send a prayer out to all your mores and to all of your mishpacha around the world, Father. I pray that you cover them with your love, Father, under the shadow of your wings, Father. Underneath your pavilion, Father. I pray that you keep us all in our places of safety, Father. I pray that you give them all healing and raffle, Father. And we just ask for forgiveness of our sins and the sins of our ancestors, Father. Thank you for your mercy, which endureth forever, because in this day and time, Father, we are going to need more and more of your mercy and more of your grace each and every day, Father. Thank you for being mindful of us, because we are but nothing. We are but grass. Our life is fleeting. It's like a vapor, Father. Thank you for blessing our finances, for our loved ones, our families, Father. Man, I'm just so grateful, Father. It's a blessing to be in the land of the living, and I just want you to know that we do not take this for granted, Father, and just ask for you to send everyone peace and love, Father. All these things we do ask and pray in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. Amen. So again, it's Yah's Assembly from Ak Yehuda from Yah's Assembly, man. Salama.